What the happened in Super Bowl XXXVII? For the first time in Super Bowl history, there was a matchup between the #1 ranked offense of the Raiders, led by Rich Gannon, and the #1 ranked defense of the Buccaneers, quarterbacked by Brad Johnson. The Bucs got the ball first. Johnson dropped back, tossing it to his fullback Mike Alstott, who lowered his head and bounced backwards off a defender after a gain of 4, before handing it to Michael Pittman on a dive for only about 1, and on 3rd, yet as he threw, Johnson lofted up a duck that floated right into the waiting arms of Charles Woodson, who picked it off and gained a few yards, setting up the Raiders offense at the Bucs 36. On first down, Gannon dropped back and threw it to his back Garner on a quick hitch, and Garner spun around and nearly got the first down before being pulled down, and on second, Gannon took a shallow drop before surveying, but ultimately throwing it away as pressure was on him quickly, and on 3rd and 2, after another quick drop, Gannon delivered to Tim Brown on another quick hitch, and the receiver worked forward for a few more inside the 20 with a first down conversion. They tried Garner up the gut next, but he was only able to pick up a yard before Gannon set his feet on second, but had to break the pocket with no one open, running to his left before being tripped up, and on 3rd and long, Simeon Rice swam over the left tackle, sacking Gannon almost instantly, and coming up with a clutch stop in the red zone, forcing the Raiders to settle for 3 that Janikowski booted through with 10.5 minutes left in the first quarter. The Buccaneers weren't dissuaded from throwing, as Johnson dropped back on first down, finding Joe Jurevicius on a zig route for a quick stick-moving play, before they'd go no huddle, and Johnson would quickly sling up the seam for Pittman, who couldn't handle it, and it fell incomplete. On second down, Johnson lofted up a wobbler for Keyshawn Johnson on a corner route, but he just missed, before finding Jurevicius on the mesh cross, and the receiver was able to turn upfield and get well past the marker before getting tossed out of bounds in Oakland territory. He tossed it to Pittman next, and the back got loose on the outside for another huge chunk play where he was pushed out inside the 15-yard line, and the Buccaneers were knocking on the door. After a play fake with pressure in his face, Johnson put the ball a hair too far out in front of Ken Dilger, leading to 2nd and 10 where they ran a misdirection handoff to Aaron Stecker, who managed to only pick up about 1, and on 3rd and 9, Johnson tried to check it down to Pittman, but the pass bounced off his fingertips, and they'd also have to settle for 3, as Martin Gramatica booted the kick through to tie it up halfway through 1. Starting from their 30, Gannon surveyed before dumping it down to Garner, who got a nice pick from the ref as he worked upfield for a gain of 6, before Gannon rolled to his right, slinging it to Jerry Rice, who caught it out of bounds, incomplete, and on 3rd and 4, Greg Spires just threw the right tackle aside, spinning Gannon down for another sack. The Raiders would go 3 and out on their second drive. Pittman tried following Alstott on first down, but had to cut to the outside, unable to get much. On second, Johnson tried dumping it down to Alstott, but it bounced off his hands incomplete, and on 3rd down, Johnson had to just keep retreating towards his end zone as they tried unsuccessfully to set up a screen for Pittman, but the QB just had to throw it away, and they'd be punting it back to the Raiders. Starting from midfield, they handed it to their backup running back, Zach Crockett, who had bullied his way forward for 4 before handing it to him up the gut again, this time for only 2, and on 3rd and 4, Gannon tried to sling to the outside, but it was tipped at the line and through Jerry Porter's hands incomplete, and they'd go 3 and out again, kicking it away in Tampa's territory. Pittman squeezed through the gap on first down, picking up 4 before getting tripped up, before the Johnson-to-Johnson connection on the slant picked them up a quick first down conversion. Johnson heaved up the seam for his tight end next, but Rod Woodson was almost able to jump it for a pick, knocking it down, and on second, they tossed it out to Pittman again, who picked up a few, but an illegal shift ended up moving them back to the 25, where Johnson tried Johnson again on a quick stick, but the receiver attacked the ball too aggressively, batting it down, and on 3rd and forever, they tried to toss to Pittman again, but he was buried in the backfield, and they'd have to punt it away again. Darian Gordon caught the kick on the right sideline, instantly going horizontal, fighting through a tackle, and turning upfield before juking a guy out of his shoes and lowering his head, delivering some punishment, and going down right at midfield to give them great field position. Gannon took the snap, dumping it down to Garner on a screen where the back turned upfield, hurtling forward over a tackler, going down 2 yards shy of the sticks before they'd hand it to him inside, and he'd run into a brick wall on second, leaving them at 3rd and 2, where Gannon let go of an ill-advised ball across his body running right, and Dexter Jackson jumped it, picking it off and dancing around for a few more, giving it back to the Bucs at midfield. They started the drive with a trap run to Pittman, who fell down in the hole for only 1 on first. On second, Johnson threw it high and behind Keyshawn, incomplete, and on 3rd and 9, Johnson went back to Johnson again on a curl just past the sticks for a clutch conversion at the 40. Alstott took a dive up the middle for 3 next before Johnson found Johnson again, this time sitting alone in the hole of the zone, and the receiver turned upfield before getting dragged down after a few more yards. Alstott took another carry and knifed through the gap for about 5 before they tried him again. This time he was folded in the backfield for a loss, and on 3rd and long, Johnson tried heaving it to Keyshawn in the end zone, but he was doubled and the ball was overthrown. Gramatica would have to boot another one through for a 3-point lead early in the second. Gannon went to Jerry Porter on first down on the spot route over the middle, and it got them to 2nd and 1, where Garner took the handoff, waited for the blocks to develop, and shot forward to get them just what they needed for the conversion. Gannon pump faked again before firing a bullet over the middle for Porter, but Dexter Jackson jumped it again, hauling his way down into Oakland's side of the field before going down. Falling backwards, Johnson tried Pittman in the flat, but missed low. On second down, Pittman split 2 defenders on the toss play, working forward to the 40, where Johnson's pass sailed over Keyshawn's outstretched hand through heavy contact, but no flag was thrown. They'd have to boot it away from the logo. Pinned deep, the Raiders started with a wide receiver screen to Brown, who dropped the ball. On second, Gannon tried a pump fake, but was caught from his blind side by Simeon Rice for another sack that left them on 3rd and 12, where Gannon tried firing into a tight window for Porter, but it flew right past him, and they'd have to boot it to the Bucs from their end zone. Carl Williams managed to return it for about 25 yards, setting up their offense in premium territory. Pittman showed some patient running as he got skinny on 1st down, picking up 6, before they'd hand it to him again on a fake end around, and the back galloped through the teeth of the defense before getting pulled down at the 2-yard line. The Bucs beefed up on 1st down before handing it to Allstott, who had to hurdle a defender, falling forward to get them halfway there. And on second, they handed it to him again. He lowered his shoulder and plowed into the end zone to give the Bucs a 10-point lead with a successful kick by Gramatica halfway through 2. Gannon climbed the pocket on 1st down, tossing upfield for Garner, who had it bounce off his hands incomplete with tons of green grass ahead of him. On second, they handed it to him, and the back fell forward for a few yards, setting up 3rd and 6, where Gannon launched a high throw that Porter went up and got on the sideline for a clutch first. Garner was stuffed in the backfield next before Gannon dropped it off to him on a screen on second, and the back worked forward for about 5 yards, setting up 3rd and 6, where Gannon fired to Brown on the outside, but another drive-killing drop led to another punt to give the ball back to the Bucs with under 4 minutes to go in the half. Pittman made a cut and slashed through the defense on 1st down for 6, and they handed it back to him again on second, where he fell short of the marker, but an offsides on Oakland led to them getting the first anyway. Another gaping hole was opened up for Pittman as he danced and lowered his shoulder into the safety, picking up 9 on 1st down before Gannon tossed it to Allstott in the flat, and the big back turned upfield, going out of bounds well past the sticks for another first. Stecker was stuffed on the next play, but another bonehead offsides penalty moved the Bucs forward again, where they'd fake it to Pittman before Johnson missed Ricky Dudley a hair too high, leaving them on 2nd and 5, where they tossed it to Pittman, who didn't get much, but a hands to the face penalty on the Raiders moved the Bucs forward again for another first. Allstott got his feet taken out from under him on 1st for no gain. Keyshawn slid down after catching Johnson's underthrown ball next on 2nd, and on 3rd and 1, Allstott bulldozed his way forward, picking up the 1st down before going down at the 18. Johnson dumped it down to Allstott in the flat next, and the thick boy broke 2 tackles before going out at the 6 for another quick first. Johnson dropped back next and threw a back shoulder ball for Keenan McCardell, who spun into the end zone, hauling it in and widening the lead to 17 with another good kick by Gramatica with only 30 seconds to go in the half. Gannon tried climbing the pocket on 1st, but ended up tossing it forward incomplete with hands all over him. On 2nd, they just ran it up the gut for no gain, and on 3rd and long, they just handed it to Garner again for a short gain to let the clock run out. The Raiders got it to start the second half, and Gannon dumped it down to Porter on 1st down for a short gain before throwing over the middle to Doug Jolly on another short throw to set up 3rd and 2, where Gannon tried a back shoulder ball for Knight, but he threw it too far upfield and it was broken up, and they'd have to punt away their first possession of the half. Starting pinned deep by a penalty, Pittman took the handoff and bounced to the outside and stiff-armed a bitch going out after a gain of 6 before they tossed it to him, and he'd get cut down after only picking up 2 on 2nd, and on 3rd and 2, Johnson squirmed through a gap and out of a shoestring tackle before trying to juke a DB, taking a big hit and going down with a 1st down pickup. Pittman drove up the middle again for 2 on 1st down before Johnson tossed it low for Keyshawn on 2nd, and he hauled it in, rolling past the marker for another 1st down. Johnson threw one that bounced off Allstott's outstretched fingers next and complete. On 2nd, they handed it to him and he fell forward for 3, and on 3rd and long, Johnson found Juravicious wide open on an out route for another first, with another offsides flag being thrown on the Raiders. Pittman got dropped in the backfield for a loss of 1 next before Johnson retreated and dropped a dot into the hands of Juravicious on a deep crosser, and the receiver galloped down to the 14 before getting taken out of bounds on the chunk play. Allstott fell forward for 1 on the next play before Johnson faked it to him next, tossing it out to Dilger in the flat, and the tight end hurdled a defender, picking up 12 yards and leaving them right at the goal line, where Johnson missed Dilger on 1st down, and a hands to the face penalty backed them up to the 11, where they handed it to Pittman, who picked up a few on 1st, and on 2nd, Johnson hit McCardell again, this time on the spot route, and this time he spun through a tackle and jogged into the end zone for a score, putting up Tampa a whopping 27-3 with 5.5 left in the 3rd quarter. Gannon dropped back on 1st, checking it to Garner, who drove forward for 7 before going down, and on 2nd, Gannon fired to Jerry Rice in the flat, and Dwight Smith undercut it, easily blowing by Gannon and returning it all the way for a pick 6 to make the score 34-3 with less than 20 minutes to go in the game. Gannon tried climbing the pocket again on 1st down, but was dragged down by Ellis Wims for a sack. On 2nd and 11, Gannon uncorked one for Brown on the corner route, but missed big time. And on 3rd down, Gannon bought time in the pocket and slid left before dropping one in the basket for Doug Jolly over the middle, but the tight end was cut down past the 40 for the 1st down. Gannon finally hit Rice next, hitting him on a zig towards the sideline as he tried juking the defender, but was slung down by his shoulder pad, and a flag was mistakenly thrown for a face mask that didn't happen, and it would get reversed after the review. On 2nd and 4, Gannon went deep for Jolly again up the seam, but barely missed the wide open tight end before trying a contested throw over the middle that was popped in the air and fell incomplete. The tight coverage was thanks to a pass interference penalty that gave the Raiders a first down. Next play, Gannon threw it to his fullback, John Ritchie, and he managed to fall forward after the catch for 7 before trying another tight window throw to Jerry Porter over the middle, but it was broken up again, and on third down, Gannon unloaded an absolute missile that hit Porter right in the hands in the back of the end zone, and after much deliberation, it was determined that he got both feet in for the touchdown. On the 2-point try, Gannon got blasted from his blind side by Simeon Rice again. The score would stay 34-9 nearing the end of the third quarter. Pittman worked forward for a few on first down, but a holding call drove them back to the 20 where they tossed it out to him, but he was tackled after only picking up 2 before they'd run the same play again, this time setting up 3rd and 14 where Pittman took it up the gut to burn clock, but the Raiders were offsides again and they'd get to go again, this time from 3rd and 9 where Pittman fell forward for a few and then they'd punt it back to the Raiders to start the fourth quarter, but the kick was blocked by Eric Johnson who recovered it, diving into the end zone and giving the team some life, and on the 2-point try, Gannon missed Brown at the back of the end zone, and it would stay 34-15 to start the fourth quarter. The Bucs faked the end around and handed it to Pittman again, but he was stonewalled at the line. On second, Johnson tossed it to Johnson on a quick hitch, and Keyshawn went down to get it and turned upfield for the first down before getting shoved out. Next play, Pittman fell forward for about 2 before Johnson rolled right and tossed it into the dirt on second, and on third down, the Raiders came across again, setting up 3rd and 3 where Johnson retreated in the pocket before just heaving a prayer to the sideline where McCardell got a hand on it and a weak PI call on Woodson ended up giving the Bucs a first down. Pittman cut upfield on a toss next, finding some room and getting into the open field before finally getting pulled down at the 11 where Alstott fell forward for 2 yards, and on second down they tossed to Pittman again, but this time the back slipped up and was buried for a loss, and on 3rd and 10 Johnson dumped it to Alstott in the flat and the fullback was just tackled almost immediately, and with a bobbled snap on the kick attempt, Grammatica scrambled around before falling on the ball and they'd come away with no points. Gannon slid left before delivering to Jolly on first down, and the tight end fought forward, diving for a gain of 9 before Gannon dropped it off to Tyrone Wheatley on a screen, and the big back delivered some punishment before going down after picking up the first down and then some. Gannon threw it away next on first. Also, sorry guys, the footage is messed up here, but it's a short throw to Jerry Rice that sets up 3rd and 7, where Gannon made several reads before hitting Jolly, sitting down between 2 zones for the first down. He threw it away again next on first down. On second, he tried throwing it away again, but a hold backed them up to 2nd and 20, where Gannon checked it down with a sidearm sling, and Garner worked his way out of bounds, setting up 3rd and 13, where Gannon just uncorked it up the seam for Unk, who caught it in stride, falling into the end zone for the late game score, and on the 2-point conversion, Gannon fired for Porter in the back of the end zone, but he couldn't get his feet down, and Tampa would hold on to their 13-point lead with 6 minutes left in the game. Pittman dove up the middle, picking up 1 on first down. On second, he tried the right side, but had to juke back in, getting shoestring tackled after gaining 2, and on 3rd and 7, Johnson tossed it out to Alstott in the flat, and the fullback bulldozed multiple defenders before going out past the marker, picking up a crucial first down they needed to keep bleeding the clock. Pittman made another cutback on first, diving down for no gain. On second, he got stuffed again, only for a yard, and on 3rd and 9, they tossed it to him and he got to the perimeter, but was tripped up well short of the marker, and they'd have to punt it away with just under 3 minutes to go in the game. Gannon heaved it to Rice on a comeback for a quick stick mover on first down before trying to squirt through the line and getting blasted after picking up 1 yard. On second down, the whole D-line penetrated, and he was wrapped up for the sack by Warren Sapp, and Gannon coughed up the ball, but the Raiders recovered it. On 3rd and long, Gannon stepped up again and heaved over the middle, and Derek Brooks snagged the pass, taking it the other way with little resistance on his way to the end zone for another pick 6, essentially putting away the game and making the score 41-21 with only a minute left. Garner dropped the screen on first down, Jolly caught a short pass over the middle on second, and Gruden got a Gatorade bath before the 3rd down play, where Gannon found Jerry Rice again on a first down and a few more yards before going out. Gannon dumped it to Garner underneath next, and the back worked forward to midfield before Gannon tried a sidearm sling to the flat that was tipped to the line, and it landed right in the hands of Dwight Smith, who took it all the way for another score to add insult to injury, making the final score 48-21 as the Raiders returned the final kickoff, burning the final 2 seconds, and proving that defense wins championships. Both teams would struggle in the future years as the Bucs wouldn't make it back to the big game until 2021. The Raiders literally haven't won a playoff game since getting to this Super Bowl. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and click the thumbs up on the video if you liked it. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could join my Patreon for early access to new videos, and I have exclusive game reactions that I can't post here on YouTube, like my reaction to this year's Super Bowl. Anyways guys, I'm going back in time and making a what the fuck happened video for every past Super Bowl, and I have a new tier list video ranking every starting quarterback going into 2025, so go and check it out. Peace.